Respect is earned. It's not given. These guys are boasting about themselves. I mean, there there was even a time where a guy locally, a DJ that's been doing stuff here for years, very respected guy in our community, and somebody in Buffalo wanted to start up being a DJ and stole his name.
Wow. Wow.
So, and it was just like, what are you doing? Like do you not hit? And that's the thing, is just part of it is it takes that whole concept of the affluenza, of the kids that don't know any better.
Sure.
And, it takes that whole thing, and it kind of has some truth to it in this regard, because you got these kids that just, they don't do the research or whatever, and they start doing this stuff, and now they're calling themselves DJ. We're not even going to say his name because I'm not going to bring them into this, but, that DJ's name, and then the DJ here is like, the heck are you doing, man? Like,
And this information, like with a little bit of research.
oh yeah, because just like when guys are starting off to DJ, like I did, I remember for a while I was trying to figure out a DJ name. I was coming up with a list, and I would take the time to go and research to see if it was taken, because you don't want to, as a DJ that's starting off, you don't want to have the same name as somebody else, because you're not going to be able to separate yourselves. Plus, it's going to really confuse and piss off a lot of people on both sides of the fence. So you don't want to go there. But eventually I just settled on my name, because I'm like, you know what? It's not John Smith anymore. It's Raj Marathe. So, it's just like, it does have sort of a distinction to it. So I just stuck with it.
You mentioned a lot of very interesting things in there. One that does stick with me is the entitlement of the younger generation.
We're not talking about everybody in the younger generation here, because there are some kids that have come up that have, taken the time to learn the skill, and or whether it's production or whether it's DJing, and they've done quite well. And you know what? My hat's off to them. It's not an age issue at that point, because they went about it the right way and they earned it. But there's kids that come out there and they spend their daddy's money and they go out there, and then they want to be the guy that plays the top bill at these events, and oh, do you know that, like, I'm not going to get into this too, but there's another club owner in the city, another well-respected guy. There's these kids coming around saying, oh, do you know who my father is, and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, pff, you have no clue, man. Get over yourself.
I know you mentioned that in the old school around 99 when you started, it was more of a community.
Yeah.
That kind of thing didn't exist back then, or was it just less?
You're talking about the entitlement thing?
Yeah, the entitlement
Well,
thing.
I mean, the entitlement thing, I mean, you didn't really. Here's the thing. I can't say that it wasn't completely there, because you don't really know everybody's situation. Because I'm sure somebody had, their turntables were bought for them by so and so, or whatever. I mean, some people went and bought it with their own money, but that's part of the thing. I mean, that's just one gripe. That's not necessarily the skill, but how they got started. Whatever. I'm not going to get into that, because that's not worth fighting over. I mean, it was more of an accepting, loving scene back then. More of a unity, plurv thing. People had nicknames, and they went by nicknames, People would, I mean, people wore clothes that now would be considered goofy, like, these pants that flared out at the bottom, like UFOs,
Sure.
raver pants, and, people wearing beaded jewelry and glow sticks and doing Vicks shots in people's eyes and all sorts of stuff, because they're rolling on E, and then they're sitting there trying to they got to keep drinking water, and I don't know. I won't go too deeply into that, but it was a different vibe. Now you got kids. There's somebody did this picture on the internet, and I thought it was brilliant. They took a picture of ravers from like the late '90s, with the same thing. They took the picture and put it side by side with somebody that is considered, they're calling themselves ravers now, and the ones now look like they just came off of the stripper pole. They've got like hardly any clothing on, and they're wearing these goofy glasses and whatever, and they're calling themselves ravers. I mean, these guys too, they're whatever you want to call nicknames for them. You can fill in the blank, but if you go and just look it up on the web, I'm sure you see it. There's websites that make fun of this now just because of it. Just because I mean, in the eyes of most people in the scene, it's ridiculous. Obviously, it's a business, so these promoters and people running these festivals, are looking for where the money is. So they're going to be catering to them, obviously, because now they're in abundance, unfortunately. But so that's why you see guys like, Getta and all these guys playing and all these young kids coming out. They don't know any better. That's what they know. Mainstream radio, etc. They're playing their stuff. But I mean, that's just that younger generation. These promoters are cashing in on it. Back then, it wasn't. It was, obviously they wanted to make their money back on a party, but sometimes it wasn't always about money with these promoters. Depending on who you talk to. So, I mean, some promoters were like, "Man, I just want to throw a good show, and I just want to make this the best party of whatever," And they're like, I've talked to promoters over the years. They even told me, they're like, "Raj, I don't even care if I lose my whatever X amount of dollars on this party." They're like, "You know what? This is going to be a freaking insane party." And it was.